Good morning. It's the 3rd of November 2023. Getting cold. It's dry here, but you need heat now. It's very cold in rural Ireland, and it's going to get colder. There's a war in Ukraine and there's a war in Israel. You know all about them only too well. I have said that the fact that both these wars are taking place is testimony to the ineptitude, the stupidity and the complete lack of leadership from the West, where you would expect it to be. We have a president in the United States who doesn't know what way to turn, getting down of a stage, and who is partially senile. And he has a vice president, Kamala Harris, who is somewhat of a laughing hyena. She'd be a political ignoramus completely. The only thing they agree on is climate change, climate change, climate change, and they signed the Paris Accord in 2015, and where is it now? I mean, if they can't stop a war in Ukraine and a war in Israel, how are they supposed to get all the nations of the world together? And that was the policy of the European Union and America too. That was to impose massive taxes on their people and give them out to these countries as a bribe for staying quiet, and it has failed miserably. There's all over the media about President Putin being sick and being ill. I don't believe one word of it. I don't believe any of it. He got heart attacks, he got this and the other. This is wishful thinking. I have seen this in workplaces and in organizations where there'd be a bad person around or a bad person in charge, and the people say, he won't be around, he'll be going, soon. And they don't go, they stay, and they stay an awful long time. Now, so that's the first thing. Now, in the case of Russia, the war is just dragging on, and it will make the 2 years. So I said it had last 2 years. It'll make another year, I'd say. It probably will be 3 years until it bankrupts America. Essentially, that's the way that'll be. Now, also in Israel, up to recently, I see a sea change in the way their plight is. Israel was founded by Britain. They didn't make any provision to look after the Arab people they displaced. There was no effort put into it. Everything was put into climate. That's all they knew. They knew nothing, only climate. And they brought in they have an obsession with bringing in migrants, which is a form of invasion, as particularly with a lot of the migrants that's coming in who are not going to assimilate into the Western way of life. And they're already out on the streets protesting against Israel and all this sort of stuff. So there you are. You have this kind of silliness. I mean, wars are fought over people coming in invading militarily. Russia came in with tanks and guns. But what's the difference if Russia had come in here as asylum seekers and then taken over? There's no big difference, but the governments cannot see that. And the people who elect the governments are too ignorant to see it, and they go in and they mark the ballot paper, and for the candidate who'll give them a bit of a raise in the pension, or something to fix their granny's hip in a medical centre. But in any event, the situation in Israel is a nuclear power. They brought in a big load of Russian Jews, and they're very orthodox, and the policy generally of Benjamin Netanyahu is drive all the Arab peoples out of all the neighbouring territories and leave Israel to run its own affairs. And when the attack by Hamas took place, and some will say Israel was trying to promote Hamas to split the Palestinian people, so when that took place, and it was a horrific thing, but all war is horrific, it was a terrible thing they did, and they showed their teeth. I wouldn't like to be ruled by Hamas, I can tell you, but that's what you have. So when that happened, the correct way for Israel was to do a bit of military, do a bit of that, and get onto the international community, try and get the sympathy, even if a lot of the Arab states might say, well, that's a bit too much, we'll try and sort this out and all that. But an actual fact is, there is no such thing as the political or religious vacuum. When you break down the Christian churches, you get green ideology coming in its wake, or some other thing, and there is no such thing as a political vacuum. If you break down one particular way of running a country, or you don't put up your defences, your neighbours will come and take all you have. We know that happened in Ireland way back 300 years ago, so there's no big mystery about that. But we don't learn from history. So now you have the situation where Israel's first response was to go in and kill all around them. And here is the point. Putin was indicted on a war crime for moving children. As he says, he took the children away because they were in a war zone. He left them in a safe place. They can get back when the war is over. And that's one point of view. He didn't hurt them. Nobody says that. They're fed, they're looked after. There's no word of them now. We don't know. We can't trust anyone to tell us. But in any event, you look at Israel's policy. Israel's policy is that if Hamas or Hezbollah or some other crowd they call terrorists kill one of their soldiers, they kill 100 innocent Palestinians. Now you can imagine when the IRA was at their peak, when they bombed the Conservative Party conference. I think it was in Brighton, killed a lot of them there. And there was the Enniskillen bomb and there was other things. I mean, the British could have bombed with military planes West Belfast. They could have bombed South Armagh. They could have killed everybody in South Armagh, possibly. They weren't able to run away. Yet that wouldn't be acceptable to us. Yet that's the policy of Israel. They kill so many hundred or so many thousand, and reports are there's 10,000 dead. So it seems that Israel lost about 1,200 people in the Hamas attack on the 7th of October, and the Palestinian people have lost 10,000. Israel says they've caught some Hamas people. I don't know. That's hard to say. I do know it's very hard to divide them up. I understood Israel could have went in and did searches and stuff like that without killing people, but that's not what happened. Anyway, what I think is not that important. I'm only giving you my view, but what is important is the sea change there is in the global scene. The sea change in the global scene. I'll try and speak a little louder. Hope you can hear me. The sea change in the global scene. All those Arab countries like Saudi Arabia, like Iran, and all of those, and Egyptians are educated much better. There has been a bit of spending on education. There has been a bit. So they're educated much better. They have better communication through the internet and through the internet and other mediums. A lot of them are on the various social networking platforms, and they're better knowledge. Moreover, they have huge amounts of troops overseas in the form of migrants that is sent over. There's a huge amount of Islamic sympathetic migrants in Europe and in America. So they have their people well placed there if they want to call upon them. But apart from that, anyway, there is the nuclear situation. Israel has nuclear weapons. Israel says if it's going down, and that's here or there, my father always said that it was always prophesied that there'd never be an Israeli homeland, that the Jews would never have a home. And the reason was given for that, which might be just pishogues, might be just superstition, was that they killed Christ. But that's neither here nor there. I'm just giving you that thing. But Israel is aware of that. And if Israel is going down, and if they find themselves being defeated, they're going to lob a nuclear weapon. Well, Pakistan is a fully fledged nuclear country. It's a Muslim country. Pakistan has guaranteed that no country will be left without weapons if push comes to shove. And there's no sea border, so America can't block them. So they can easily send a convoy of nuclear warheads and missiles all the way across to the various countries in Syria, in Lebanon, in Egypt, and other adjoining countries, and including Iran, which may already have nuclear weapons. So the idea that Israel can strike a nuclear weapon and nobody else can fire back is poppycock. That is absolute nonsense. That is absolute nonsense. If they go nuclear, then you could have an escalation on gigantic proportions. If they go nuclear, you could have a massive escalation. This would not happen if it was common sense. Even with the state of Israel as it is and as it was and as it developed in the last few decades, I do believe it could have been sorted in some way. With a bit of help and a bit of money, it could have been ironed out. But there is none of that. There is none of that. Sleepy Joe Biden and his crew, his motley crew, have until January 2025, and he may well get re-elected. And he has now shut down all the oil and stopped the exploration of oil. No companies can invest in oil. No companies can invest in making arms, right? There are companies like Lockheed Martin making arms, and there are a lot of companies making arms, but the general trend in the United States and in Europe is against arms manufacture. And so there isn't the investment into arms. So can they fight a war? Have America got the ammunition to fight a war? Have Europe got the ammunition? And what companies could invest in that? Because it's always a campaign against arms. And the other thing is with fossil fuel, the campaign in Europe is let's eliminate it, just stop oil. The campaign in Canada is the same, and the campaign in America is the same. So you see our Minister Eamon Ryan, the Green Minister in Dublin, in Ireland, has stopped granting a license to explore for oil off the coast of Kerry in Ireland. So there's going to be no new production there, and even there's a change in policy that'll take several years. So if we say in a conflict, the Suez Canal is blocked. Now that happened by accident about 2 years ago. A big ship went sideways in it. That's all they have to do is stop a ship there, let it down. That's it. The only way around then is round the Cape of Africa, round South Africa, right? Excuse me. So right, that's the only way around. So then the next thing is the Straits of Hormuz, where the oil comes out. The Straits of Hormuz. That's where a lot of the oil comes out. I think it's 26% of the world's oil comes out there. If that's shut, even blocked, without a ship being sunk in either two, if the owners of the governments there decide to shut them down and stop the West and stop them having the fuel for war, then they can do it. Now that'll put us in a right how do you do. Here in Europe we rely on Norway. That's really the only bit of fuel there is, and the British are opening oil wells in the North Sea, but that's going to take maybe 2 or 3 years. So you're relying on Norway and a wee bit of gas off the coast of Ireland in the Corb gas field, and that's about it. Kinsale field has gone dry as far as I know, and so there you are. We're not allowed to explore. And where are we going to get our diesel and our petrol and our fuel to stay warm in the winter? Where are we going to go? It is already proven by the party Aintu that the exploration for lead and zinc is going ahead in Sweden, no problem. The problem is in Tara Mines in Navan. They shut it down because the electricity got just too expensive, and according to a lot of the people living in Ireland, bully for them, it's great. And they're looking for the government now to pay special fees, special money to the workers there. So you see how this green thing has blindsided the whole people, and how the media like RTE, BBC, CNN, and all these media have blindsided them and have lied to the people about all of this baloney. They even think the windmills we have will be a bit of a help, when I've long said you cannot use the windmills without having 37% of demand supplied by fossil fuel. Wind generation in Ireland is currently 1546 megawatts, and the demand is 53,4043. So that's 5343 is the demand, and wind energy is 1546. And yes, there was times where it was near zero. So you can see there that only a small amount of the grid is wind, and that's only propping up the fossil fuel. There's massive fossil fuel being used there. Moreover, 10% of our electricity is imported from Britain, and that's counted as carbon free. How long will that continue to flow if there's a war and a scarcity in Britain? So all told, they're making a right mess of the whole thing. But I think from the point of view of the original grounding of this video, things are changing. The winds are against Israel. It's getting harder and harder for Israel to convince people it has a noble and just case. I think they've shot themselves in the foot. I think they should have taken a more measured response to this. This was the time to deal with this in a way that was measured, and that was less likely to alienate all the Muslim people. They can kill and torture and maim thousands of people in Gaza. They can do that. But they can say, well, we have to kill 1,000 for every one that we lose. All right. Well, then the Muslim countries can say, well, we'll kill you altogether. And what are they going to do about that? They're going to fight. What are their young people like? What are their military like? They're reared on smartphones and ice cream and goodies and wokeism. They're into music in America, pop music. Are they going to go down and get weighed down in the muck and carry a load of maybe 50 kilos around on their back? And how long are they going to go? I'm telling you, they're outnumbered big time. They're outnumbered big time. And Turkey sees themselves, President Erdogan, as the natural leader of the Muslim world. And it has been said that this conflict has managed to do what no one ever did before. It's brought the two fractions of Islam, the Sunni and the Shia, the Sunni and the Shia, and there are other divisions as well. Now they're all united against what they see as the common enemy. They also associate the United States with a common enemy. So the United States and Europe has filled its country with potential warriors for the Arab world and for the Muslim religion, and it has destroyed its ability to power itself with fossil fuel. It says it can do it with renewable energy. I wish them luck with that, and there's no hope of getting that fixed. And then there's the huge debt. There's the huge debt in Europe, and there's the huge debt in the United States. Where is this all going to end? Well, they're going to keep printing money, and the value of the money is going to depreciate to an outrageous extent. There's every evidence of a huge banking collapse coming, and a huge economic collapse, and a repeat of 2008, only worse. So all told, my gut instinct is that Israel reasserting itself as an independent, free, Jewish state in the Middle East looks very, very shaky indeed. Very shaky. And I think you will see there'll be less interest. The whole of Europe and the president of Italy, Maloney, said, not knowing she was being recorded, that they're all sick of war, they're sick of the Ukraine, and now they have to take on this. And war is the inevitable result of the lack of intelligence and stupid leadership, and people going in voting for who will fix their granny's big toe and who will fix the pothole and all of this, and that's the inevitable result. But there was war going down through the years, and so that's life, and this is the way it's going to go. If we lose our fuel here in Ireland, there will be suffering on a grand scale. We will freeze to death in some cases. We will freeze to death, and we will have no electricity, and we'll have many of the things we want. At the moment, the farmers are getting it hard to get the potatoes out of the ground. We could have a lack of potatoes scarcity this winter. So taking all things like that, it doesn't look good. I've long said that this green woke agenda will break us, go woke, go broke, and that some of our people, and particularly in Germany and in America, will end up searching through landfill sites and dustbins looking for a little bit of food. That is how extreme it can get. It's extreme, maybe it is extreme, but it's possible. Who'd ever think that this would happen in the Ukraine, and who'd ever think this would happen in Gaza? But there it's happening right before our eyes. We know, just to finish off, we know the Irish government will try to take all of Gaza into Ireland. We know they will do that, and that will help to bring on the hunger and the cold and the starvation too. But that's something we have no control over. This is the government we live under, and that's the European government we live under, and that's the American government we currently live under. Less than 20 minutes, so I'll let you go with that, folks. Please comment underneath. Things have changed. Things have changed. The idea of the ignorant Arab is gone, and the idea of America and Europe looking down as these fellas with skirts on them and sand Arabs and all this stuff, that era is rapidly going as these countries assert themselves and try to get out from under the yoke of the West. Give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down, and feel free to comment. Thank you.